Last Saturday, or last weekend, we had our scouts. I think there's 17 of us total that went camping at Lake Meredith. Friday night, my other scout leader and her mother come running back to camp that there's a crisis going on in the bathroom. What they heard, they thought they heard, was an argument between a young couple, and I quickly responded, ran up there, and it turned out to be a crisis situation of a young man that was hurting himself, and the girl was trying to stop him from further hurting himself out of a sense of shame and guilt, but really not guilt, shame, that he was unworthy. Then we woke up Saturday morning to the sheriff's office coming out and searching up and down the beach, and the Park Service came out with a sonar, and we found out they were looking for a man that was young man in his late teens who was camping just 200 feet away from us, who during the night, from what they can tell, entered the water and took his life. We were in the heat, kind of surviving it, and we all kind of came back tired from a 100+ degree camping trip, but we just came back with a sense, I came back with just a sense of exhaustion. And so I began in that spirit praying for the words that we needed to hear as a community. It's ironic that sometimes how the lectionary will speak to situations that are going on in our lives and in the lives of our community at the time, if we open ourselves. One of the gifts of Scripture is that our ancient stories often become mirrors for us. We read just a few minutes ago about Jacob wrestling through the night, and perhaps we might recognize something about our own struggle. We read about tired disciples surrounded by more than they knew and know how to meet. And we recognize something about our own exhaustion. That's how at times our sacred scripture, the Bible, is like a mirror for us. Through these ancient stories, we begin to recognize our own fears, our own struggles, and our own need for God's grace. These stories are not just about people who lived thousands of years ago. They reveal something deeper about the ongoing human condition, how we struggle, how we hide, how we become tired, and yet how God continues to meet us. Jacob comes to the Jabbok carrying a complicated history. Earlier in life, he took advantage of his brother Esau's hunger and acquired his birthright. Later, Jacob and his mother deceived his father so that Jacob could receive the blessing that was intended for Esau. Jacob disguised himself as his brother. When his father asked, "Who are you?" Jacob lied. He said, "I am Esau." Jacob received the blessing, but he received it while pretending to be somebody else. Then he ran. He fled across the desert, across country lines to his uncle Laban's house, where the deceiver learned what it felt like to be deceived. For Jacob worked 7 years to marry Rachel, only on his wedding night to find out that Laban had slipped Leah in her place. So Jacob had to work for 7 more years to marry Rachel. The years that followed for Jacob were filled with competition, drama, family manipulation, family conflict, changing agreements, and broken trust. Does any of that sound familiar to the lives that we find ourselves in today? – Now Jacob is coming home. But coming home means he has to face his brother Esau. Coming home means he has to confront the past that he left behind. Coming home means wondering whether reconciliation is still possible. Sometimes it is easier to build a new life somewhere else than to return to the place where we caused harm. Sometimes it is easier to keep moving than to answer questions honestly. Who are you? Yet God meets us within our story, even when our stories are complicated.